Do it.
Ready?
It's time.
Damn.
Let's
Those
rumble.
are evil eyes. I wouldn't want to be his son on the opposite end of the evil dad eye.
Oh, he's harmless. All right, guys, it's that time of the week again. And as you can tell, we're already off and running on some monkey business. It's Chris talking to you from the studios of WFC3. With me, as always, my surly human sidekick, Tanya Metris.
No, that would be Billy.
Nah, Billy's the eternal overlord of all things media.
Thank you.
I figure I'm going to try and give you a promotion every time we get together for a session.
Because he doesn't want to be fired.
I was about to say
Billy
that
could never get fired.
I'll wind up being fired.
We have no interns today. So.
You know what? Let me take a moment to say something about that, because since we started this podcast series, we could have, ham-fisted our way through anything to try and record this and slap together computers and stuff or whatever to record these podcasts.
He makes it sound so professional.
Billy is the reason that we have been so successful in getting these recordings underway. He has been gracious. He has hosted every single session we've ever put together.
I'm sorry.
And, we have to acknowledge the simple fact that he uses the studio, which is off of a broom closet, off of the copy room, off of the secondary secretaries. So we're like tucked in this like little 10 by 10, cubicle kind of a thing. But... No.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's
we get
an
a
upgrade.
10 by 10 cubicle?
It's an upgrade. No, but, Billy, we have to take a moment to say thank you for everything you've done to help us out with this.
You guys have been... Thank you for taking me into your nerd family.
Oh, God. This family, it only gets better when it's bigger. Seriously. We have more fun when we're all in a larger group.
Thank you.
All right. So with that being said, Billy DeTore on the board, Tanya Metris on the other side of the table from me for a change of pace, Brian Burke sitting right next to me, Jason Hilton to the left, and Jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with Colin Delaney at the far end of the table.
I haven't left. I drank the Wild Irish Rose. I slept under the desk.
There he goes.
I'm back.
He's made himself feel at home.
Yeah.
So here we are, and it's yet again, we're going to talk a little bit more about the convention itself, but kind of loosely tied to a larger community that is in the Rochester area. And that's why I'm glad that Jason and Colin are here. So you guys are going to tell us a little bit more about it. With the advent of Jerry the King Lawler coming in and being a part of FC3 17 this year, it really puts a spotlight on the professional wrestling the whole genre, the whole entertainment community, as it were. And I did not realize how vibrant the local branch of this community is. And so Colin and Jason, you guys are going to put some light on that for me. Colin is a former WWE superstar.
Yes, sir.
And when
When
was that? When did that occur?
It was 2008.
Okay.
I was in WWE back in 2008. I was just a young lad. I was 21 years old. So I'm like a child actor now. I'm all grown up.
Where are they now?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no. I'm sure you can find a Where Are They Now for Colin Delaney from TV.
Okay.
But, yeah. Basically, I'm like a child actor. I did it so long.
Are you from the Rochester area originally?
Born and raised in Rochester. My first WWE event actually happened by accident, and it was down at the Blue Cross Arena.
Nice.
They just needed somebody to come in and get beat up real quick.
Okay.
A good friend of mine who's on TV now named Luke Harper gave me a call.
Right, I know the name. Yep.
Said they needed somebody to get beat up real quick. I said, great. I came down to the arena weighing about 145 pounds soaking wet. They put me on TV. I got beat up by a guy named Shelton Benjamin here in Rochester, New York. And, I had a little segment before where they, had me talk about how I'm from Rochester and whatnot. And
the hometown crowd?
Yeah. I got beat up at the Blue Cross, which at the time I just thought was the coolest thing ever. I didn't need it to be anything more than that. I got to wrestle in front of my hometown crowd at the Blue Cross Arena. But
the wonderful woman was sitting right here.
All right.
I thought that was awesome.
Hey.
Yes.
Now, Colin, were you big into wrestling before that? Were you doing amateur level or anything? How does that work?
Well, being a professional wrestler was that thing that I feel like everyone, when they're a kid, kind of goes through a phase where like, I want to be a wrestler when I grow up.
I'm 51. I still have
I have an 8-year-old that really wants to be a wrestler.
Sorry.
We should talk.
You have an 8-year-old that likes to throw himself around the house. I don't know if that's a wrestler or not. That's more of a stuntman.
I think kids grow out of it at some point, but
I don't think this one.
You did not? Nor did
yeah.
Jason here?
No, I hit 16 years old, and I found a wrestling school, and I started training. So, yeah.
And that wrestling school that's in the area?
Yes.
Okay. What's the name?
It's called the Kayfabe Dojo, but it's the Upstate Pro Wrestling's. It's their training facility.
Okay.
It's been down on Box Art Street for...
Oh, I know, right by Turning Point Park.
Yeah, over a decade it's been down there. So
very cool.
Yeah, I'm on their website right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
And if people are interested in getting some information, what's that website?
UpstateProWrestling.wixsite.com. wrestling.com.
All right. I got no problem throwing plugs around.
Just Google Upstate Pro Wrestling.
There you go.
I just
it'll
Googled
take you
Colin
right there.
Delaney.
Yeah, I was going to say, Google my name. You should be able to find everything.
Or I Googled Wrestling Rochester, New York, and that was the one that
There
came
you
up.
go.
I'm
So that
actually
works.
I'm actually pretty bad at social media. I was gonna say you should be able to find all the details on my no probably not. You could try. You could try.
And then you had your time in the World Wrestling Entertainment at WWE.
Yep.
And then after that occurs, how do you continue on in the business? How does that happen? Where's the story of Colin Delaney go from there?
I mean, actually, after I got released, I did a lot of conventions because just like the Comic-Con here, there's a lot of wrestle cons and a lot of different wrestling signings. Did things like that and just kept plugging away in the independent wrestling scene, wrestling all over the United States, basically, which is what I still do now.
All right.
Yeah.
Keeps you. Then is that your kind of like your 9-to-5 job? As it were?
It's my gig. It's
It's
been
your
my
gig?
gig for a while now.
That's cool.
So, yeah.
See,
and I teach people how to wrestle at the wrestling school here. So
I see that your little tag says extremely cute Colin Delaney
Yeah,
on the website.
I'm the extremely cute wrestler. Because
Okay.
When I was in
Is it
WWE,
up over there?
I could see it. I see it across. When I was on WWE, I was on a program called ECW.
Okay.
So
Yep.
I decided that I would be the extremely cute wrestler. At this point, I mean, when I was 21, extremely cute kind of worked for me. At this point, I'm 30, and I don't know if extremely cute necessarily is the proper term.
There's some
but-
other extremes, but cute.
Yeah, but until I come up with a better one, there it lies.
Now you're going to be joining us at FC3 17.
Yes.
You're going to have Jerry the King at ringside, or walking around sketching and signing autographs and doing talks and
You're
Yeah,
not
stuff.
going to have him pile drive you, are you?
No, I hope not. No, I'm not. I do not want to wind up like Andy Kaufman.
There you go. We were talking about that last week. Now, Jason, you've been involved in this in the local wrestling scene for how long now?
It's been about 3 years.
About 3 years. And how did you find your way into it?
Well, I had the crazy idea to be a wrestler, and
Okay, so it just kind of snowballed from there.
well, yeah, it took me a year to find the school. Actually, I didn't have the same the resources. I don't think were as readily available. Maybe they were, but it was difficult for me to find a school. I knew that that was where you started.
Right.
And so I eventually found a school, and I have my own personal story. Colin has a great story too, and how he, so it's a there's some definitely you have to give up some things in life. I at that point I'm not even going to tell you my age, but didn't have a driver's license, and I was riding a 50cc moped from Macedon to Box Art Street. It would take me an hour each way.
Oh, my God.
And I'd go 2-3 nights a week and get beat up and scoot back home in the middle of the night to do it. But I the first 2-3 months are intense. It's there was plenty of I don't know if I can do this. But after you break sort of through that 3-month mark, I think around there for me it was all just it is the most beautiful thing I've ever been a part of outside of my son's birth.
That's
It's
cool.
amazing.
See, that is a great. I can't even think of the word I want. Testimony. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. Now, and that's part of your story, Colin. What would be part of yours? Because Jason had said you got a great story. So let's hear a little bit more about it.
Well, kind of like I was saying, I mean, it was all I ever wanted to do. So when I turned 16, I found a wrestling school, and I mean, he didn't have a driver's license. I was barely old enough to get a driver's license, so I would find rides there. I would make my way there. I'd return cans and bottles to pay for my ability to train.
Yeah.
It was all I ever wanted to do.
It's a matter of perseverance.
Yeah.
I think that's really what I'm getting from both stories right here is that it's a matter of perseverance. If you find something you really, really want to be a part of,
Yes.
you make those things happen to be a part of it.
And that school here that's still here is the same one that I trained at. I was in the first class
really?
of the current school.
Okay,
so
that's cool.
I have seen every face that has walked in or out of that door. And some people last for a week, some people last for a day, some people last for a year, some people last forever.
Yeah.
But it's about wrestling's about you get back what you put in.
Well, let me ask you this, Colin. Let's say there's someone listening to the podcast, and it's their dream to be the next Colin Delaney from Rochester, New York.
Sure.
And they're looking
Shoot
for
higher, kid.
Oh, okay, how about the
Thanks,
next
Jay.
Luke Harper?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Get taller.
Sorry.
I mean,
What would you say to them? They're looking for a school. Maybe they can't find you guys. What sort of advice would you give them when they're picking a school? Because you know there's lots of places out there that are just going to take your money. You're not going to get anything for it. So what sort of advice would you give people when they're just starting out, finding that school and making sure that it's a good fit for them?
Well, yeah, I mean, find one that's where you know the person training or know their credentials a little bit, because in the last couple of years there's been a little bit of you've seen wrestling before, you can teach people how to wrestle, which is not true. You need to find somewhere reputable, somewhere that you've heard of, someone that you've heard of, someone that you know. Do your research, just like anything else. I mean, you can find everything on the internet nowadays. Do a little research, put a little more thought into it than just, hey, this guy's got a ring in his backyard and he says he can teach me how to wrestle for $20 a day. Do a little more research than that. Think a little higher. But like I said, it really is, you get back what you put in. So if you put into it, you're going to get back from it. And, having a little understanding will help you rather than just walking in a bit blind.
And it's not just the physical training you go through. And now what kind of goes on behind the scenes in terms of crafting your character, your persona, the thing you're going to use when you present yourself to the masses out there?
Yeah, and that's one that's it's kind of tough to cue on, and it's a kind of a tough one to just teach because everyone's going to be different. Your wrestling personality is going to be a bit of your actual personality just turned up to 100. So you got to kind of figure out what that is and get comfortable with yourself and really know yourself to know what you at 100 even is. Yeah. And that's why
this one goes to 11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people, I started real young, so it took me a long time to figure out, what that even meant, because at 16 years old, you don't really know what you're going to be or who you are. So it takes a while to get a handle on, but it really is. Everyone's is kind of just them at 100, them at all the way turned up.
Okay. And see, that's the thing about professional wrestling is there are some seriously colorful characters out there who have these larger than life personalities out there.
Yeah, we're kind of going by the wayside of that nowadays. I mean, back in the day, there were these huge just these personalities, these characters like Jake the Snake, and like the Big Boss Man was like a jailer, and like there was all these crazy characters and larger than life personalities. It's kind of gotten away from that a little bit, which is why the cosplay wrestling show should be fun at the con, because everyone's going to be in costume doing a different character, maybe some wrestling cosplay, maybe we'll have a Big Boss Man cosplayer wrestler,
I'd like to see that. And somebody like Brian's side, Brian's, you're not the tallest fellow at the table, but somebody like maybe about 5, maybe a little shorter, maybe about 5'7", 5'8", doing the whole Big Boss Man thing. That would be hilarious to me. I don't know why I'm tickled by that idea.
We talked about that too, right? Like when we did the DC world, the movie world, how I think everything goes. I don't know how to say. Everything goes black. Everybody wears black. Everybody's got tattoos.
Yeah.
That era where you had all these guys full of color. I don't. It's like, oh, well, it kind of mirrors the real world. Yeah, but we don't watch wrestling to mirror the real world. We don't read comic books because we want to be in the real world, right?
Yeah, we want to experience a story, a different story. We want to see it, somebody else's take on it.
Yeah, bright colors.
I always think of it as
these
are you get to see your superheroes come to life in the ring. That's the way I've always looked at it.
Yeah, and you've said that before. I've heard you say that, but yeah.
Superhero versus villain, face versus heel. It's in the ring versus on the pages of a comic book.
Yeah.
What is that noise?
We're trying to figure it out. I heard it about 10 minutes ago, and I'm like,
we've heard
the
music
voices in our head.
Hey, that's okay. I'm going to Tulio style, so I don't hear it.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I'm not sure. Everything looks okay on my board. Maybe you thanked me too soon, Chris.
That's all
for
right.
being the board man.
But Colin finally picked up on it.
I'm used to jinxing myself. I really am. It's what I do on a regular basis.
There's more voices in our heads other than...
Yeah, there's a
slight little hint, something in the background.
Talking in the background, and I was
my
ADD was going crazy.
Our headphones off a couple times to try to figure.
I was wondering if it was happening outside and bleeding through, but no.
Kind of like the bagpipes last year, starting the morning of the second day of the convention for the Flower City Marathon.
Somebody tune into the related station, see if we're actually on the air at the moment. That'd be hilarious. So that would be hilarious right now.
Watch our language.
Yeah, I can see the ratings just plummeting at the moment.
It's Sunday afternoon. Who's listening anyway?
So, guys, tell us a little about the Upstate, the organization that is going to be working with us on this, and maybe I know there's other groups around. A bunch of tell us a little bit about the local wrestling scene, local wrestlers that that are maybe on the rise in the area?
People who will probably actually be showing up and performing at.
Yeah, so it's Upstate Pro Wrestling.
Yep.
It's been through a bunch of different names, but it's always the same core group. It was called NWA Upstate. It was called, originally it was Rochester Pro Wrestling, and it's gone through a bunch of different names, but it's Upstate Pro Wrestling now, and it's the same group that it's been for a long, long time, run by a guy named Hellcat. He's the one who owns and operates the school. He's the one who has been promoting these shows for a better part of 15 years now.
Yeah, and let me just say, if you met Hellcat, you wouldn't think that he's been around long enough to, just looking at him, you wouldn't think he'd been around long enough to be running this for so long.
And he would love to hear you say that.
AKA the man Father Time forgot about.
Yeah, I wish I was in that kind of shape 20 years ago, much less right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, he's approaching 50 and looks significantly younger than me.
Okay, you said that. I didn't, so.
Yeah, I
he'll
see
get over it.
Hellcat here.
Yeah, you would never think. But yeah, so Upstate Pro Wrestling, they run shows every second Saturday. Every other month is at Pineapple Jack's on the second Saturday, and the other one is at the Eagles Club. Like we have one coming up March 11th at the Eagles Club on Buffalo Road.
I heard a rumor that there may be someone in this room in a championship match.
Yeah, that's me.
At
Okay.
at that event.
Actually, at that March 11th event, it is me against Jason one-on-one. So I'm just throwing that one out there to the world.
Nice.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting to watch.
I love going to, like, a lot of people think the only professional wrestling you can go see is WWE.
Right.
And sometimes people think of TNA or whatever, but there's a lot of great local wrestling that you can go see, and it's inexpensive and it's so much fun.
Wasn't there
really
just
is.
something that was in
Another
Brockport?
There's a different
yeah.
organization that runs out of Brockport, yes.
Yeah, there's a lot around. Basically, wherever you live, there is local wrestling.
There's guys that wrestle with you in Upstate who also wrestle when we went to the show, the IWP show the other day. So, I mean,
Sure.
Yeah, there's lots of opportunities. I mean,
Guys
Mark
work
House,
hard. They talk great. It's really entertaining stuff.
It's a very physical form of theater. So it's a performance right in front of your eyes. It's crazy to see live.
So we saw Sean Carr was involved in a fatal four-way at the match the other night, and I guess he's a local guy who's going to get a chance with Ring of Honor. So that's
Yep.
That's great. But what other names are out there that maybe you see with your experience you see on the rise that maybe have a chance to make it?
Because I saw Luke Harper when he was Brody Lee here in Rochester at the German House and Auditorium Theater.
Sure.
Great stuff.
I met Brody Lee when I was like 12 years old, backyard wrestling in a park.
John will love to hear that.
So I know. So that's how long I've known that dude. But I mean, local wrestlers, there's so many great ones actually from right here in the local area, and there has been for a long time. Dick Justice is a guy who's making his name a lot of places and getting he's got a lot of buzz behind him around the independent scene. Nick Ando is another guy who I trained probably closer to a decade ago, who has had some success locally and otherwise, trying to branch out, get a little more name recognition. I don't know, man. There really is so much great talent coming out of the upstate New York area that either is or isn't getting recognized.
And the great thing, and I've discussed this with the guys on the Pain Clinic every week, and we discussed it on our wrestling podcast, is with the WWE and doing their brand split, and then having NXT and having to fill spots there, and Ring of Honor trying to compete, TNA still trying to compete. It's just offered more and more opportunities for guys to make it, and it's great to see that people are working so hard, and local guys. I'm really looking forward to the next few weeks as they build up to WrestleMania, because I really believe that Luke Harper is going to be in a three-way match for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania.
That would be
and
awesome.
That would be a guy with a Rochester connection going for the championship. He may not win it, but just to be in that match at the biggest event of the year for the WWE would definitely be awesome.
I was going to say Rochester connection. I mean, he's born and raised Rochester, New York.
Luke
Harper.
Back, he came back when he got moved up from NXT, came back, bought a place out in Webster. And his family still lives up here.
Yeah. So that would be very, very cool. It's super exciting for him, but he's always been great. And
he's the nicest guy you'd ever meet.
I know, right?
He's huge. He's taller than you, Chris.
That's something.
Yeah,
I'm not.
He's a really,
Jason and I
really
are not
big
short
guy.
guys.
And he does come across a little scary with that beard, but he is the nicest guy you'd ever meet.
Yeah, you
so.
should try to get over the Canadian border with him.
Oh,
Yeah, it was never easy.
I believe it.
But at the end of the day, one time they were not going to let us in, and he just said, "Yes, you are," and we got in. So, I mean.
But I get the impression that that's basically the bulk of the guys who are out there are all they're good fellas. They're just doing their thing. Some of them portray these absolute dickheads when they're out in the open. But behind the scenes, they're all hey, how you doing? How's it going? Hey, man, how you?
Sure,
So,
yeah.
Now, do you find that there's any of them out?
10.
I was going to say
there's some prima donnas.
There's a couple of them that
Sure.
start believing their own press.
Yeah, and there's something to be said for that sometimes. I mean, some guys have had great success off of believing their own hype.
There you go.
I mean, it's not me. But then again, once again, it's them, their actual personality turned up to 100.
Right.
And I guess their actual personality is kind of, yeah.
Well, Bill Cosby had a great routine. Well, he was doing this whole thing about one of his employees talking about cocaine. Well, it enhances your personality. Well, what if you're an asshole? Yeah. Then it enhances your personality that much more. Okay, fine. But here's a question I have for you. 12%. Well, I got 12% of a plan.
You only have 12% of the plan.
I never have more than 12% of a
No.
plan. Here's a question I have for you, Colin. Did you have that moment where you've been training and you've been working and you've been studying, you've been talking to people, making all these connections, and do you have that moment where it's like, holy crap, I'm really in the middle of this. This is something that just happened to me, and I am now in the mix.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, there was a moment where I was in the middle of the... Because I didn't get nervous, really. I didn't. It just never crossed my mind. Going to the ring, no matter if I was in front of 100 people at the Eagles Club or tens of thousands of people at the Staples Center, it was like, well, I'm going out there to wrestle.
Right.
This is what I know how to do.
Yeah.
But there was one moment where I was wrestling for the ECW Championship, and the ref is patting me down, and they go to commercial break, so I get to stand in the ring, and I'm just standing there waiting. And I just look around and I take a deep breath, and the ref looks at me and he goes, "Breathe, kid, breathe." And I was like, "Oh man, I just got caught by it for a second. I just got
Is that back when ECW was on the Sci-Fi Network?
Yep.
Was
ECW.
it live?
It was
then?
live on the Sci-Fi Network. So also, I had some of the events were taped. Like the SmackDown was always taped on Tuesday, and then it used to air on Thursday or Friday. Now it's live, but ECW was live TV. So whatever I was doing was going out there live to the world. I mean,
yeah. And that's one of those moments where you kind of take a breath and think for a second.
Yeah, I'm standing in this giant arena full of people on live television, going out to millions, and it was like, oh wait, yeah, that is a bit much.
Now, when you were with ECW, that was the WWE sort of rebooted ECW.
The WWECW, yeah.
Now, were you worried going into that, because ECW before then was that just insane organization out of Philadelphia, the biggest independent promotion ever, where guys basically killed each other. People that always thought wrestling would say wrestling's fake. How could you watch it? You'd show them ECW just to put them in their place, sort of. Did you worry, I'm really going to get hurt being part of ECW?
No. I mean, once again, it was WWE's version, and their version was, I guess, a bit more watered down than the actual ECW. But I did get to work with a lot of those guys. They paired me up with Tommy Dreamer when I was there, and he was the godfather of ECW. He was the guy.
The
in
hardcore
ECW.
legend.
Yeah, I mean, I had to wrestle him, and I had to do Extreme Rules matches with that guy, and it was just. But he's a pro through and through. So I mean, anything he does.
All right, so I want to mention that with Jerry Lawler only coming in on Sunday.
Yeah.
We have a spot open Saturday all day, which would be great to bring in, even if it's just guys throughout the day with local ties, want to come, sit down, chat with people. If they got some merch and want to sell it, I mean, I'd love to throw that out there to you guys.
Sure.
Come on down, promote themselves. I mean, you go to any of these shows, all the guys, when they're not in the back, are sitting at their table selling their shirts and stuff, trying to make a living off it a little bit.
Yeah, because we are independent wrestlers. We're independent contractors. So, I mean, that's the merchandise and stuff like that. T-shirts and 8x10s and buttons and hats and whatever they got is a lot of how these guys make their living.
Yeah, so as we get into the details about who we're going to have come in and wrestle, I'd like to make sure we open that up because
Absolutely.
We obviously have the opportunity. I've got the space. It's already set aside for a wrestler on Sunday. Why not use it for some of your local guys?
Sure, that would
on
be
Saturday.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I only charge $150 an hour. So however you guys want to work that out.
Yeah, we can work that.
And that's just to look at him. If you want to take a picture of him,
Yeah,
woo.
yeah. I know. We had that when he started working on joining the board. You know, he was laying out his terms. It's been very lucrative so
He's
far.
got a writer.
For him.
And luckily, I mean, I don't see any brown M&Ms, so you're good. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, he hasn't been too extreme. Although, you know, the all pink Cadillac, I think we're still working on that. Yeah,
that's up in the air still.
Yeah, still up in the air.
Now having the bottle of Wild Irish Rose here makes sense.
It does, doesn't it?
It's in the writer.
It really does. It's in the writer.
It.
We're going to come together.
That's a beautiful thing. You see, and I go on this tangent often. It always impresses me how Rochester has its fingers in everything. You know, Eastman Kodak, Bausch and Lumber, all the big ones, and all that stuff. But you know, when you talk about like Joe Simon, the creator of Captain America, was raised in Rochester.
Sure,
buried in Rochester, I believe. You know, and Rochester's ties to independent film and comic books and art.
My uncle Mark Macaluso put out the very first Star Trek: The Wrath of Khan card set. I mean, it's so.
And to know that there's even more to the Rochester culture, and you guys help bring that to life, and that's just it's amazing. Every chance I get to hear stuff like this, I love it. I absolutely love it.
Gorilla Monsoon was from Rochester.
Right.
Yes, he was.
Yeah,
I remember hearing that.
There's all kinds of crazy ties. When you really break it down, it's like from Rochester. It's like, oh man, for being I don't know, it's our town, but
it is.
It's got a lot more recognition than I think even most of us know or most people know.
And that's
history.
That's yet another reason why we do what we do is to bring that home. So that's cool. So we can wrap it up on that note. We're looking very much forward to bringing this all to you and more, as always. So on behalf of everybody here, Billy, Tanya, Brian, Jason, Colin, thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
that was
course.
awesome.
Thank you for having
You're
me.
always welcome to be here and hang out with us. That's me. I'm Chris, and we'll see you later. And this has been Monkey Business, a production of Mighty Monkey Productions, presenters of the Flower City Comic Con 2017 at the Rochester Riverside Convention Center. Find us May 20th and 21st at the Convention Center, and like us on Facebook, www.facebook.com/FC3ROC.
This is Benny Hill.
This is Benny Hill.
This is Benny Hill.
I knew it. It's a family show.
It is a family
It
show.
is, but this is like the.
It's an older family, but a family show nonetheless.
We had other music. Chris didn't like it.
I
so-
really never got into it. You're gonna have to play it. You'll have to play that one next time, Billy.
Okay, I
just
will.
so everybody can hear it again.